Today we will be reflecting on the parable of the talents as in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 25 verses 14 to 30. It tells about a king who had entrusted his wealth to three of his servants as per their ability and returned after a very long time and found that one of them had done absolutely nothing with it for increase in his absence. While the king heaps praise, blessings, and glory on the faithful ones, judgment and damnation is pronounced on the wicked and slothful servant. In verse 29, Jesus says, "Whoever has will be given more, and they will have abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away from them." We normally give to the one who does not have, right? Then why is Jesus saying this? The king is Jesus, and this parable is about what he expects from his servants till his second coming, and unfruitfulness is not one of them. In the Old Testament, a talent was a measure of something very weighty. Gold and silver were measured in talents, and it was equivalent to today's 35 kgs. In the New Testament, it was equivalent to 6,000 denarii or drachmas, the Greek measurement, or 6,000 Roman silver coins. One denarius was a day's wage. So 6,000 denarii were equivalent to wages for 16 years. So though the third servant was given just one talent, he did not have little. He had a talent of much value. Any blessings from Jesus would be weighty. It would not be appropriate to trivialize the understanding of talents to mere natural abilities. Like we say, okay, I have a talent of dancing or of singing or whatever. Or maybe time, wealth, health, connections, influence, etc. But our spiritual talents are much more precious. It would be weighty, an abundance of grace and mercy of God expressed in his spiritual gifts. For example, love is weighty. Mercy, faith in Jesus, yearning for him, a secret taste for his word, understanding the truth, compassion are weighty treasures of the kingdom. And these have the potency of growth like the mustard seed or yeast that Jesus speaks about in other parables. It has no profit in bearing it or keeping it safe, made as it were with the intrinsic value of increase. The king is not unjust. He distributes to each according to his ability. He knew the third servant's limitations and gave him just one talent of his precious treasure to advance and increase. It is his faithfulness he has his eye on, not the number of talents that were given to him. As we go on, we can identify with one kind of servant, either the faithful one or the unfaithful one. The first two servants had goodwill towards the king. They had a loving relationship with him. They understood the privilege of being entrusted with the king's treasures, diligently set about his affairs, and fulfilled their responsibility that came from the privilege of being enlisted by the king. Their works were proof of their faith and love for him. But the third servant, he had a problem. He did not have goodwill towards the king. He had the mistaken notion that he was unjust and hard-hearted and probably disliked his service, but nevertheless continued in his service as a matter of routine. His service was his labor, not his delight. His king was his dread, not his joy. He was impudent enough, bold as brass, to express the most wicked and slanderous opinion of his master to his face. He thought nothing of his generosity and therefore did not bother to further his interests. Not only that, his behavior was brazen, without humility without contrition. No apologies offered for what he did not do. He ignored and disregarded his blessings and gifts from the king. Forget about being enterprising. He did not even do the minimum. He could have put it in the bank so that the king would get interest, but he did not do that too. Therefore, the king charged him with wickedness, but also with sloth. Now, sloth is one of the 7 capital sins. It comes from the Greek word asidia, meaning lack of care. It is a reluctance to work or make an effort, and it leads to other sins. Proverbs 18 verse 9 says, "Whoever is idle at work is blood brother to the destroyer." When Jesus comes as judge, sins of omission will also be called into account, and idleness, doing nothing, no good, thereby being unprofitable, is one of them. Slothfulness makes way for more wickedness, because when we are idle with the affairs of the soul while we sleep, the enemy sows tares and weakens our faith. The sentence of the unprofitable servant will be the outer darkness, gnashing of teeth, vexation, and indignation at his predicament. Practically speaking, those who, in gratitude to God, employ temporal and spiritual treasures received for advancement of the kingdom of God will receive praise, more blessings, and glory. An unused muscle wastes away. It loses its power. It degenerates and is useless. Similarly, those who, though blessed, are grouchy towards God and slothful with their blessings will lose what little they have and their position in the kingdom as well. Let us then nurture a loving relationship with God and respond to our calling with love for Jesus, faithfulness, and goodwill towards Him. Let us delight in serving Jesus with joy. It is not enough to retain. I must advance the kingdom of God in faithfulness to Him. May we not be found wanting.